It's time. It's time to commit. Time to commit to actually making change come about in your life. You've been talking about change, you've been wanting change, but you haven't committed to it. Is it possible that you haven't committed to change because your goal has not been big enough? Is it possible that the idea of change sounded good, but when you looked at it, you just thought about all the reasons why it was too hard, too difficult, not right now, I'll do it later? It's time to make the goal big enough. And not only big enough, but really tied to something and someone that's so important to you that you are willing to sacrifice, get out of bed, work hard for, right? Because sometimes when the change is just, I think I'll do this for me, right? For some people, that's just not enough, right? It has to be tied with people that they care about. It has to be tied with a greater goal, a greater benefit to make them actually commit. You may start doing something for you, but you may find yourself actually committing to that change when it's tied to the health, welfare, well being, and safety of people that you care about. When you tie your goal into, I want to achieve this for a better life for my children, I want to achieve this so I can have a better marriage, I want to achieve this so I'm able to help other people, that goal starts to become heavier, more weighted, and more likely that you're going to not just have the goal, but commit and make the sacrifices to achieving that goal. Change, we all know, is something difficult, right? We'll go back and forth in our mind. We may actually take a little bit of action, do something to bring about change, but then it gets difficult, it gets boring, and we stop, right? How do we move forward? How do we stay committed when it's difficult, when it's boring? It goes back to, again, that desire for change, being connected to someone. When that change is connected to someone or someone bigger than ourselves, then all of a sudden the boringness does not matter because we want that goal so bad that we're willing to endure the routine and the boring part of it in order to get to the end goal that we have for ourselves, for our family, for our loved ones. And when you find yourself saying, oh, this is boring, I keep doing it, it's so routine, I'm not really seeing a result, right? Remind yourself that there are plenty of very boring, very routine things that you do on a regular basis. When you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, there's nothing exciting about brushing your teeth. It's routine and it's boring. But you do it anyway because you know if you don't do it, you're not going to have healthy gums, you're not going to have healthy teeth, and you're not going to have good breath, right? That's something that you do for your health and hygiene maintenance. And you don't stop doing that just because it's boring. But you know that if you did stop doing it for a long time, you would see a definite negative result out of that. But if you keep doing it and you do it well, that you'll see a positive result out of that. So yes, there are sometimes once you commit to change, it's exciting at first and then it gets very routine and very boring. But nevertheless, it's still important. It's still needed to get you to your end goal. And just because it's boring and routine doesn't mean that we shouldn't stick to it because one day, right, we get to see the outcome. One day we get to the goal that we have set for ourselves and reap all of the benefits that came with sticking with the goal, with sticking with change. So if you have goals in your back pocket, in your dream book, in your journal, in your planner that you have yet to achieve, ask yourself, is my goal big enough? And then when you are ready, start to say, okay, what does it take for me to actually commit and stick with this goal? And even though it's hard, let me align this goal with something or someone that really matters to me so that I will not only achieve it for myself, but for them. I will not only achieve it for myself, but for later, for my future, for something that's bigger than me and something that's going to be long lasting in the future. And remember that make it big, make it worth it, and give yourself permission to have the time that you need to achieve your goal. Commit to change today. I remember that I had the goal when I made the decision to join the military. I was older. I had 5 children, 30 years old, and decided I would join the military. Well, I had to lose 50 pounds in order to make that happen. And in order to lose that 50 pounds, I had to make a commitment to work out 6 days a week, despite the fact that I was working full time, was a mom. At the time, I was also going to college. And despite all of that, all of the things that I had to carry and deal with and figure out, I made the goal big enough. And I tied the goal to my children that if I took this opportunity, I would change my life and their life forever. And I would have more options, not only for my future, but for their future. And so when I had to go work out 6 times a week, despite being fatigued and exhausted, I knew that I was doing this not just for myself, but for my children and for their future. And it made going to the gym 6 times a week and making the sacrifice to change my eating habits and to change everything about my life, to be able to lose the weight, to be able to qualify and get in to the military. In order to do that, having the goal tied to the future of my children and a better future for them made it easier to achieve that. It made it more valuable. It made it gave me the tenacity and the commitment that I needed to achieve that goal, and eventually I did. But it was because I tied that goal to the future, a better future for me and my children. I tied that goal to something that matters so much to me that it got me out of bed and willing to continue to work out 6 days a week and make the sacrifices and put in the energy and put in the time to achieve that goal, knowing that not only would my children benefit, but my grandchildren and great grandchildren would benefit from the change that it brought into our life and the opportunities that it created for our legacy. So, as you look to commit and complete your goals, tie it to a reason that is so big and so compelling that you are motivated, even when it gets dry and mundane and routine, to keep moving forward. Thank you for joining me for Word of Advice Wednesdays. Gessy Martinez, author, therapist, and coach, helping you to not only survive but thrive through life's challenges.